When you shut down, it is not contained to that conversation.
Right.
It is far-reaching.
It never de-escalates.
Right.
It causes more tension. It leaves more room for assumptions. It leaves more room for all these false narratives to grow. At the end of the day, you're going to have more problems than you started out with.
For sure.
By going to the shutdown mode.
Absolutely. Welcome to the Beautifully Blended podcast. My name is Larry.
And I'm Julia.
And we are the Colberts. And we are excited for season 2 of Beautifully Blended podcast. We've been gone for a while. We took a break.
Break.
Yeah, we took the summer off, and last season was our first time just getting started in this space of creating content and doing a podcast. And it was good.
It was great.
I agree. And we learned a lot.
Yeah.
But we took some time just to recoup, but we also took some time to build a set.
Yes.
So we have a new set. This is the new Beautifully Blended Season 2 podcast set. And we're excited even about the space that we're in now.
Right.
So hopefully you stick with us. You let someone know that you are enjoying this content, and if you are being blessed, please share it.
Yeah.
Let somebody know. Send them a link, like it, share it, subscribe, comment.
All the things, yeah.
Yeah, we want to hear from you. We love to hear from people on the podcast. So this is season 2. A little bit about us. We've been married for 16 years.
Yes, and we have a blended family.
Yeah, we do.
Just like so many of you. We've been through the ups and downs, in and rounds, and we survived. We made it.
We made it.
And so we're just here to share the things that we've learned along the way with you.
Absolutely.
And again, like Larry said, we love to hear from people. I've run into people at the store.
Who are listening to the podcast. That's crazy. Yeah.
Which is so amazing. And so we love to hear from people. So please continue to connect with us, like and subscribe. We just really love this opportunity to be a part of your life as well.
I 1000% agree. So today we're going to get into a topic that it doesn't expire.
No.
It just doesn't.
It's like almost inexhaustible.
Right. It never goes away. You may already know what it is just by us kind of tiptoeing around it. But today we're going to talk about communication. But we're going to talk about communication in very specific ways today. We understand that communication in a marriage is the heartbeat of a marriage. It's the heartbeat of a family.
Yeah.
Learning to communicate well matters a great deal.
It does.
And it's hard to keep a family together if you don't talk to each other.
Right.
In particular, if you don't talk to each other in the right way, if you don't use the right words and the right tone, it's so complicated. You got to do all the things.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Last season, we had an episode where we talked about communication and the fact that we learn how to talk, but we don't learn how to communicate.
Right.
Communication is a whole other lesson, series of lessons that we have to learn. And so within a marriage and within a family, there can be 2 problems. There are more, but there can be 2 problems that every family can face when it comes to communication. And those would be assumptions and shutting down.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right. And so with assumptions, one of the issues with assumptions is the fact that it creates this gap between what someone actually said and what you thought they said.
Yeah.
Right? And, that's something that you and I have talked about before with communication is like people don't hear what you say. They hear what they thought you said.
Right.
And it all flows through your own experience. But the issue with this gap when it comes to assumptions is the fact that you don't know what your spouse intended. You don't know what they were trying to communicate. You don't know how they feel. And you don't ask.
Right.
You just assume.
Yeah.
And so their intentions are left in the balance, right? Because you just don't know. And so that gap that is created with assumptions is room for conflict in the marriage and family.
I agree. I think the intention part of it is huge.
Yeah.
Because you kind of tell that person what they mean.
Right. rather than asking them.
Right. You're telling them what they mean. And that is the remedy for all kind of fights.
Right.
Right?
Right.
All kind of fights. It doesn't matter what it is. When you tell somebody, no, this is what you meant. How do you know what I meant?
Right. And I'm right.
Go ahead.
No, I'm laughing, but it's not funny on some level, because it's like
it's not.
You say, honey, how do I look in this outfit? And then say, oh, you look okay. Like, you're saying I'm fat. Like, you just right off the bat, it's like, no, I said it looks fine, but fine.
Fine may have sounded like fat in their heads.
Listen, start with the same letter. But, but the thing is, like, we assume, and we can't leave room for those assumptions, because that's where conflict can arise.
Yeah. And you're right. Conflict arises in that. The second thing I think is an issue is assumptions destroy trust.
Yeah.
When you assume, it destroys any trust that you had in your marriage and in your family. And families run on trust. They run at the speed of trust.
Yeah.
Like, that's how they grow.
Right.
They grow at the speed of trust. If you don't have trust in your family, it's going to be hard for people to want to connect with you, want to be around you. They're not going to listen. They're going to rebel.
Right.
Like, so many things happen.
Right.
And assumptions, they destroy. Every assumption chips away at trust.
Yep.
And imagine if trust was a Jenga puzzle.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the,
Jenga. Those wooden blocks.
Right. Yeah. So we had the giant Jenga at our outreach not too long ago. I was playing Jenga with the kids. So imagine trust being like a Jenga block, a tower. And every time you assume, you take a piece out.
Right.
Every time you assume, you take another piece out.
I like that illustration. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if you keep making assumptions in communication, telling your husband what he meant and not asking questions, or telling your wife, I know you meant this, but you're not asking qualifying, clarifying questions, at some point in time, if you keep taking pieces out, that tower is going to crumble, and it's going to be it's going to be a huge mess and a lot for you to clean up.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Go ahead.
No, and the only other thing I was going to add to that is, and just over time, and I see that Jenga, like, when it's all together and it's whole,
it's neat, right? It looks
so
good,
neat and orderly, and
that's church on Sunday,
right?
That's when the husband and wife go to church on Sunday.
They look neat and
everything's neat and orderly,
right. They go to the barbecue, they go to the family gathering. It's like, we're the Colberts, and we're the Smiths, and it looks all neat and orderly
for sure.
But when you look at it, you really pull back the curtain, you see the spots where they've taken the pieces out. And sometimes if you take the piece out from the bottom, you're like, what's the top and everything going to be like? And I see that weakening. I definitely see that weakening. But the other thing that it can do is it can weaken emotional intimacy. Communication is part of our ability to be intimate with someone.
Right.
When we are exchanging words, we are being intimate.
Yeah.
And so that intimacy can be weakened by that lack of trust because of assumptions. And so we have to be very careful with that.
When I was thinking about the Jenga block, it's neat, it looks good.
Right.
But the thing about trust being destroyed in a marriage, just like Jenga, other people can see it.
Right.
Other people can see there's something off about how this couple is communicating with one another. Other people can see that there's something missing in what should be a healthy communication or what should be a healthy marriage. There is something missing, and we can try to hide as much as we want, but if there are pieces that are missing in our marriage, we can't hide that but for so long before everything crumbles down. And most people in a marriage try to contain their problems as long as they can.
Right.
And if they cannot contain it, and they come to me for a meeting, or they text you and say, listen, Lady J, we got some issues we want to talk to you about. Usually it's 10 times worse than whatever that text message says.
Right.
Because now they were no longer able to contain it.
Right.
It's gotten to a point where everything has crumbled down around them. Mm-hmm. There is no trust. There is no kindness. They're filled with bitterness. They're upset. They're angry. Right. It's a mess. Mm-hmm. And then they come to us and say, can you help us put our puzzle together?
Right.
Can you help us put our lives back together or our marriage back together? What we're talking about now is preventative.
Right.
We're trying to get to a point where we can say, listen, if you continue to assume, it's going to weaken the emotion. What you say? Emotional
intimacy.
Yeah, the emotional intimacy. It's going to weaken the foundation of your marriage.
Right.
It's just going to create a mess over time for you to have to clean up.
Right.
It really is.
Right.
So I wrote this down.
Okay.
Assumptions lead to accusations.
Okay.
And accusations lead to alienation.
Mm-hmm.
So when you assume, it's going to directly lead you to accusing your spouse about something.
Yeah. Yep.
You did something, you meant something, you said something, you didn't do something.
Right.
The assumptions always leads to accusatory language between a husband and a wife. Right. They start to accuse them of something.
Right.
Going back to what we talked about concerning intents.
Right.
I know what you meant about that.
Right.
That's an accusation.
Right.
And then if you continue to accuse them of not having integrity, of not being forthright, not being honest, not being kind, or whatever the accusation is against them, ultimately it's going to lead to alienation.
Yep.
It's going to lead to a point where distance is inevitable.
Right. Wow. It's true.
It is.
It's very true. It's very true.
Let me ask you a question. So if assumption leads to accusation leads to alienation. When you're in the right in the middle.
Okay. In between accusations and alienation. Okay.
Yeah. If you are giving advice to somebody, what are you telling them to do to turn around at that point? Because sometimes they're not recognizing, if I continue to make assumptions in this marriage, then I'm ultimately accusing my spouse of doing this or doing that, and it's going to lead to alienation. If you were to tell them how to turn it around right there, what would you say to them?
I mean, I think the first thing is really identifying the fact that there have been these false narratives that have been created, right?
Yeah, it's good.
So it's identifying the fact that there have been narratives that were created based on assumptions rather than fact, rather than truth. And just because you assume something doesn't mean it's correct.
Right.
Doesn't mean it's fact.
Absolutely.
So I would really encourage them to go have the conversation. Stop assuming and have the conversations that are necessary, because as long as you continue down this path of assuming certain things, you don't even know if your assumptions are correct. And even if there are parts of your assumptions that are correct, it still doesn't matter if you haven't had the conversation.
Right.
Right? So you're assuming, like I said, when you said, how does the outfit look? And they said, it looks fine. You're assuming they said, I look fat. Mm-hmm. Why don't you go have the conversation?
Yeah.
Because maybe that's not what they meant.
Right.
And so I believe that if you have the conversation, then you're opening up the room for you to be able to have real good conversation and no longer create these false narratives, these fake stories, because those stories, those narratives lead to torment, which is why there's this alienation. There's this separation. Now you're tormented by the assumption of this is what the person meant.
Yeah.
And this is how they feel about me.
Right. I think that's the part. This is how they feel about me. I think you could, when you assume and it leads to the next thing, I think you can tell someone without telling them that you don't love me, you don't care about me, you're not a good provider, you're not a good husband, you're not a good wife.
Right.
And those accusations are the ones that hurt. They cut deep because they're identity shaping accusations.
Right.
And I think that's where the problem really comes in, and it perpetuates in a marriage. If you constantly tell your spouse that you're not a good provider. You're not a good provider. You're not a good provider. Even though you're not saying that, but that's what they're hearing by how you're communicating to them, then it's going to affect their identity and who they are as a husband or as a wife.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that example can be used for both. Could be, it could be either way.
Yeah.
I remember watching a show, and it was like a newly married couple, and the husband was telling some of the coworkers, like, "Oh, she could use a little help with some cooking." And
who says that?
And was asking like the other people, like, "Hey, she might need some help. Maybe you could show her how to. It's been a little while since she's done this, so maybe you could show her how to."
Were you watching Golden Girls?
No, Downton Abbey. So in any case, but in that scenario, she was like, "If this man don't stop, you know," and he didn't see it, but there's real accusations in there.
Yeah.
And there's even assumptions on his part that she didn't know what she was doing, and that somehow she was doing it wrong or was going to do it wrong. And so you really have to be mindful of that.
Yeah. Here's another area that I think assumptions are hurtful.
Where?
When you assume, because I'm not doing it the way that you want me to do it, that I'm not doing it the right way.
Right.
Or I'm not doing it when you want me to do it, that I'm not interested in being a team player. Right? Or I'm not doing it the way that you told me to do it.
Right.
And I just Googled something, found a better way to do it.
Right.
Or it's more efficient.
Right.
And those things can eat away.
Yeah.
At the relationship. Why are you smiling?
Because I'm just...
Am I talking about me or you?
I'm just laughing because I'm thinking about, just some of the situations. Like, we have certain ways that we do things, and we prefer the way that we do them.
Right.
And so,
Okay.
I just was thinking about that. Like, I have a way that makes sense to me to do certain things.
Yeah.
And you have a way that you prefer. You're like, no, this is the way this should go because this is what makes sense. And so sometimes those things and those ways, we have to be mindful not to die on that hill and find the space for outside perspectives.
Find the space for grace.
And outside perspectives.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's a good point when you talk about assumptions. You have an example of that?
No, I don't want.
You do have an example. You just don't want to bring it up.
I don't want to bring it up.
It's okay.
It's all right.
All right. So we talked about assumptions.
Yes.
Now, I think the other thing that we need to talk about is shutting down.
Absolutely.
Say it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Shutting down.
It is virtually impossible.
Yes.
Like if there is one thing that destroys communication, it is not communicating.
It's the shutdown.
It is shutting down in the middle of, communication, or when you're trying to learn something, or you're trying to, express a point, or, make something clear.
Right.
And the other person shuts down in the middle of that conversation.
Right.
It can be extremely hard to bring a resolution. So let's talk about why people shut down.
Yeah. So
why do people shut down?
So it can be a defense mechanism.
Okay, yeah.
Right. It's one of those freeze responses. It's the barrier. It's the way of protecting yourself.
Right.
If you are overwhelmed or fearful that you will be overwhelmed in the conversation, you shut down. If you feel like fearful that you're going to be rejected, like, I don't know how they're going to respond to me if I say this, I don't want to deal with rejection, so I'm not going to say it, I'm going to shut down.
Right.
It could be that you feel like you're going to be abandoned emotionally.
Yeah.
So if I say this, they're probably not going to want to be bothered with me. They're probably not going to know what to say. They're probably going to be quiet anyway.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to feel abandoned, so I'm going to shut down and not say anything.
And in many cases, it's a reflex.
Yeah.
It's something that happens unconsciously.
Right.
When people shut down in communication that seems to be going in a direction that is uncomfortable for them.
Right.
It could trigger something and remind them of another area or another time in their life where they had an uncomfortable conversation with someone and they didn't like how they felt then. And their body and their mind and their emotions are telling them, if I didn't like how I felt then, I'm not going to like how I feel in this conversation. Therefore, we are shutting it down.
Right.
We're not having this conversation. So we understand, those of you who are watching and listening to the podcast, we understand that shutting down happens in communication. And there are people probably listening now that are saying, "Oh, that's me. I shut down. I just if it's too much or I feel overwhelmed, I'm just going to pull out. You're not going to hear from me." But we want to help you to think through some other options and some other ways that you can handle that kind of tension in your communication, because we want your marriage to be fine. We want your family to be fine. We want you to be a positive contributing factor to bringing health and wholeness and love and all of the things into your household. So we have a couple things that we want to talk to you about that I think will be a resource or beneficial for you.
Right. I think the first thing is really identifying the issue with shutting down.
Yeah.
So one of the issues with shutting down is the fact that it creates emotional distance.
Yeah.
So if you hadn't noticed before and you're like, yep, that's me, I'm the shut down person, right? While you may want to create distance, because sometimes people want to create distance for retaliatory reasons.
Yeah.
You know what? Guess what? You won't get any of my words.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the thought process, but regardless of the thought process, you are actually creating emotional distance.
Yeah.
You are distancing yourself. And if you are, again, communication is a form of intimacy. If you are in this relationship and you create emotional distance,
so good.
Now there is an issue with your relationship being able to grow intimately. And so now there's this distance. So we can't engage. What you're communicating or what the other person is receiving from that communication is, you're not worth my words.
Right.
I'm not even going to bother to tell you anything.
Right.
It's a form of rejection towards that person that you are not speaking to.
Right.
That other person can feel unheard. They can feel unloved, unseen. They can feel all the uns, right?
Right, yeah.
And then in the process, you're also building a wall. And again, in an emotional, healthy relationship, in an intimate relationship, the last thing you need to do is build walls.
Right.
We need to be tearing down walls and leaving room for us to grow. But those walls are created with that.
Yeah, that was really good. The emotional distance part of it made me think about how if you create emotional distance through shutting down, that emotional distance is not contained just to your emotional space.
Wow.
Your distance will become distance emotionally, physically, sexually.
Yep.
All the things.
All the things.
All the other areas.
All the other
relationally,
areas.
It'd be hard for you to connect financially.
All the,
It will affect every other area of your life. When you shut down, it is not contained to that conversation.
Right.
It is far reaching. And it will reach into other areas of your life, your marriage, your home, and learning to think through this and be prayerful about what is happening on the inside of me causing me to shut down.
Right.
Is something that you need to do. You need to think about. You need to pray about. Why am I shutting down when I am in a conversation with my spouse, with my husband or my wife, and we are communicating about something, our lives, our future? Why am I shutting down? And ask God to give you some help and enlighten your eyes so that you can see this is not the place to create distance. emotional distance, not in this relationship.
Right.
You got relationships you need emotional distance in, but this ain't one of them.
This ain't one.
Like, you got some people you need to emotionally distance and physically distance yourself from, and no longer give them access to you.
Right.
But this is not a relationship where we can afford the luxury of having emotional distance.
Right. Right. Yep. I agree. I think the second thing, and another issue with the shutdown is the fact that it escalates tension.
Yeah.
We can think if I shut down, I don't say anything, then it's just going to all just go away.
Man, ain't nothing going away.
Right. It doesn't just disappear. Right. No, it takes longer to resolve the actual problems because you're not communicating.
34 years later.
Oh my goodness.
You still having the same fight because you got to this point. If you get to that point,
If you get to 34 years later. But it never de-escalates.
Right.
It causes more tension. It leaves more room for assumptions. It leaves more room for all these false narratives to grow. Like, it just creates more tension.
Right.
And at the end of the day, you're going to have more problems than you started out with.
For sure.
By going to the shutdown mode.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you think, like, going back to what you said earlier, you think if you don't say anything that it's going to resolve itself. No, it's brewing.
Right.
It's like a volcano. And just because it didn't blow up in that moment and you think you stopped it, oh, I did the right thing. I stopped, I de-escalated. No, you didn't. It is brewing and it will blow up later.
Yeah,
it will come to a point where whatever was brewing, whatever was unresolved and unsaid will be said. And it'll probably be said louder than it would have been the first time.
Right.
It might be said with some cuss words, and it might be said with all sorts of things because now in your heart you're just livid because you allowed it to brew and kind of go under the surface for so long.
Right. Right. You know, I remember a period of time where you and I, we had there was like this one conversation we kept having for the first, I don't know, I'll say 5 or 6 years, off and on, didn't really get a resolution.
Okay.
And then we finally came to a place where we kind of started dealing with the conversation. But we hadn't dealt, like, we would get to a certain point and then just not go anywhere.
Right.
And we get to a certain point and just not go anywhere. But when we actually sat down and walked through the process of the conversation, it made a difference. And I know for me, I remember that conversation. You may or may not remember the conversation.
I don't.
But I
mean,
remember.
you can tell the world. Was it you leaving your slippers in the living room?
Don't listen to him. Don't even listen to him.
I don't remember.
I know, because you making up stuff now.
I mean, that's because you ain't telling us. What is it?
But the point is this, that I remember the time where we kept trying to have conversations that we couldn't have.
Yeah.
And it just never really got anywhere, or felt like it would never got anywhere. And so finally we got to this breaking point in the conversation. We're able to have the conversation.
Yeah.
And when we did, we started to understand and hear each other.
Yeah.
You know, when you said certain things, it affected me different. When I said certain things, it affected you different.
Yeah.
And so when we had the conversation, bringing what we felt, we just were not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
And so then the shutdown would happen, or the let's move on, because we had other things to talk about. We had kids, we had bills, we had all kinds of things to think about. And so again, I remember, but I remember.
But you going to tell me when it's over?
Yeah, I'll tell you when it's over.
We're going to bring it up in one of these episodes.
We'll bring it up in a future episode because I want to make sure he remembers. So, but the point is, you know, when you have that, you don't go anywhere. But at some point, there has to be that point.
Yeah.
Where you're able to work through it and hear each other and like, oh, well, this is what I heard when you said this.
Right.
And this is what I thought you were saying and what you meant.
Right.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
And as long as I had my assumptions, as long as you had your assumptions, the conversation became harder. But when we put the assumptions aside and understood and heard each other, we were able to have a better conversation.
Yeah, you're getting into some of the solutions that we're going to, talk to. Yeah, we're going to talk to them about the solutions. But before we do that, let's read James.
Yeah.
Because he talks about communication.
Yes, he does.
It's a verse that you guys may have heard before, but we're going to read James 1:19. And it says, everyone, I like how he just said everybody.
Yeah. No one's exempt.
Yeah. What'd you say?
No one's exempt.
Right. No one's exempt. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Right. So when we talk about this scripture and bring this up in the context of marriage and family and parenting, it is a powerful tool that you can use in your own family. James 1:19 is a powerful tool for you to use in your own family. And we're going to talk about what it means. So I'll just ask the question and then we can go back and forth. Yeah. What does this scripture mean? And then how can we apply it in our lives?
Well, I think the first thing is being quick to listen. So there's intentionality. Yeah. I am intending to listen. Before I say any words, I'm going to listen to your words.
Yeah.
Right? And the beautiful thing about marriage is the fact that typically there is one that's more wordy than the other.
Right.
Right? And so the wordy one is like, yes, I get to say my words.
Right.
They probably need to be at a limit. Let's set the limit.
Right.
4 minutes or less.
Set a timer.
And then for the less wordy one, they need a minimum of 3 minutes to say their words. But the point is this, that we're intentional in listening. We want to listen before we say our words. And then we're going to be slow to speak. I need to be so fast to listen, like, okay, no. My husband's saying something. My wife is saying,
yeah, that's good.
I want to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and then slow to become angry.
Right.
Because it can be very easy, especially when we have those false narratives and those assumptions, we can get angry right away.
Yep, absolutely.
And like you said, we'll get into some of the best practices and tips, but just that idea of just first let me hear you out. First let me listen. Let me be slow before I ask a question, be slow before I have a response. Sometimes we are quick to speak, not always because we're cutting the other person off, because sometimes we just want to remember what we had to say. Right. We don't want to forget.
Right.
And we have some tips for that that include, how to be ready to respond.
Yeah.
But the point is just being slow. Let me hear what you have to say first.
That's a discipline. That's a muscle we don't use a lot.
You're right.
But it's a muscle that needs to be developed in our marriage so that we can use that muscle more regularly.
Yep.
So we got 5 things. We got 5 things for you that we want you to practice. Mm-hmm. We got 5 things. If you could identify with anything that we talked about in this episode, here are 5 things that I think that you can apply, that I know that you can apply to your marriage and to your family that are going to help you. The first one is use I statements when you are communicating instead of blaming your spouse.
Right.
And this is what we're talking about. I felt this when you said that. Like you're just making it very clear. Making it very clear. I feel hurt when you say this. Instead of blaming your spouse, saying you're trying to hurt me. You said that intentionally to ruin me. Right. Use those I statements. And then the other thing, and we've talked about this before, probably everywhere we go, using these what are they called? The always, never, statements like that.
Right.
You always do this. You never do this.
Right.
I always am, the one cleaning the bathroom. You're never the one, taking out the trash. Those statements are dangerous.
They are.
And misleading, because no one never always does anything.
Right.
Like that doesn't happen. We're too inconsistent
as humans. Right.
But there's a lot of wisdom to this approach using I statements. I feel hurt when you say this, or I feel concerned when I hear you say what it is that you're saying. Is this what I hear you saying to me?
Yeah.
Like using those I statements to affirm and kind of get more clarity, that's going to be helpful.
Right. Which that segues into the second point, which is to clarify before assuming.
Yeah.
Right? Yep. What I hear you say is this.
Right.
Can you give me a little more information about what you're saying? Or can you give me an example of this? I heard you say this, can you give me an example?
That's a good one.
You know, and so the more that we're clarifying, the less we're assuming. And that's the goal.
I agree. Now, for the person who shuts down, or you're in a relationship with someone who shuts down,
right,
you have to avoid demanding answers.
Right.
Tell me right now, or I'm walking out the door. Like, that is not going to be helpful. That is not going to make your marriage more healthy.
Right.
That is not going to bring resolution. That won't bring healing or anything. Right. If someone is shutting down, we have to avoid, everybody, avoid forcing them, demanding them to use their words and tell me exactly what I want to hear right now, because at that point it becomes a little more about you than about them. It becomes a little more selfish.
Right.
Like, I demand to know right now.
Right.
You will rise up in levels of selfishness that won't be healthy for your marriage.
Right. And then also for the shutting down, write down instead of shutting down.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, you want to avoid demanding answers of the person who shuts down. But on the other hand, if you are the shut down person, instead of shutting down, take notes, write your thoughts down.
Yep.
Write even what you're hearing the person say so that you're able to have that engaging conversation.
Yeah, that's good.
Because if you do that now, your spouse is not feeling like, your spouse or your child or whomever is not feeling like you are just emotionally walking away from the conversation, just leaving them hanging. Now you're taking notes, you're writing it down, and that's going to help your communication.
Yeah, that's good. I think number 5, that was number 4. Number 5 is schedule check-ins.
Yep.
Schedule check-ins with your spouse. Schedule check-ins with your kids. If you do it with your spouse and it becomes a rhythm, you put it on the calendar. Maybe they're working, make a Zoom call. You Zoom with everybody else. Zoom with your husband or your wife. Put it on the schedule because you want to check in with them. The last thing you want to happen is for you to have a conversation in 2026 about something that happened in 2024.
Right.
Because you guys aren't communicating and you're not scheduling. Every Thursday, we are going to catch up to talk about how you feel in every category so that we are on the same page.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Agreed.
I think we're done.
Okay.
It's a good episode. This was a resource, I think, for some people who are listening.
Right.
Go back. We want to encourage you. Go back and listen to this. If anywhere in this podcast we talked about something that was near and dear to your heart and you were like, man, that's me, or that's my spouse, or that's something that we need to work on.
Right.
Julia and I are encouraging you, go back and listen to it. And if you think it's going to help someone else, please share this with them. It's going to be a blessing to other people if it was a blessing to you. So we want to encourage that.
Right.
All right?
Right.
So here's a reminder before we go. Healthy communication is less about winning the argument and more about building bridges.
Yes. And when I think about building bridges, I also think about where we live. We live near a river, and there are several bridges that have gone across our river. And there's one particular bridge where the whole middle of the bridge is out.
Yeah.
And so no one can go on the bridge, obviously, because it'd be dangerous. But when we're building bridges in our communication, it reminds me of that bridge. We're allowing more and more of the bridge to extend to the other person so that we can connect and be that connector. And so healthy communication looks like that bridge intact.
Yeah.
But when it's not intact, when we have conflict, when we have assumptions, when we have shutting down, we're tearing that bridge down further, and we're going further and further to our corners.
Yeah.
And so we really want to make sure we're making that connection.
That's really good. Hey guys, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Beautifully Blended podcast. Yes. We are back and we are looking forward to bringing you quality content, something that you can use as a resource, something that will help you in your marriage, something that will help you to be a better parent. We are praying for you guys and we pray that you were blessed by today's content. If you were, share it, like it, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and encourage others to do the same thing. We are looking forward to seeing you guys soon.